Yeah, it's for me, Russia, it's more like home for me when I'm in Dagestan because I have all my fighters here that are very dear to me, and I get treated really well everywhere I go. So for me, this is home. This is home. I love
That's
it here.
amazing. It's amazing. So
Coach,
MMA. Oh, you want to go? Go ahead.
yeah, if that's all right. Okay, Coach, thank you for the time today. We really, really appreciate it. I know that this is like one of 1,000 interviews, for you, but for us, this is a pretty cool opportunity. We really appreciate the time. Um, I did see a question from the comments. I just wanted to grab Sarah real quick. Someone asked, would you ever consider opening up another gym location for AKA?
At the present time, there's a licensing a deal with AKA. Mike Swick's the president of licensing. So for those individuals that want an AKA license, they need to contact Mike Swick, AKA Thailand, and request. You want to look into what's the procedures, open up an AKA licensing program.
It's
Very,
amazing.
very cool. Thank you.
So MMA is so complex and new to a lot of people. What is one thing that you wish that people at home had a better just understanding of while watching MMA?
Well, I could have told you this maybe in like 2000. I wish people really understood what was going on and how special these guys are. But as the years went on, the more I came around the sport and been involved in the sport since 95, right? But the more I got involved, the more I realized that when the real stars came out, the first legit stars, became worldwide was like Chuck Liddell, and then Randy Couture and then those individuals. Then after that point, it wasn't anything more for me. I wish this, that, because everybody became fully aware of it. Before it was like, yeah, I was wish people would understand there's a difference between, cockfighting, what they used to say, like, oh, how barbaric, they're going in the cage and they're beating each other up, blah, blah, blah. So I would like to say if I was back in 2003, I would tell you what, but now the way things are going, everybody knows MMA, everybody knows what it is because the UFC has made it such a worldwide sport by how they reformed everything, they regulated with all the states, and they got it approved, and now everybody looks at it as a legit sport. And for me, it's not a sport, it's more of an entertainment sport. And the reason why I tell you that is because when you look at uh, all sports, right, like college, right, number one always goes against number two in the division for the title, right? Well, in the UFC and other fighting sports like boxing per se, it isn't always number one goes against number two. It's always who's going to bring the biggest eyeballs to the screen, who's going to give you the most money. So those change. So for me, it's entertainment. It's not a strict sport because if it was a strict sport, you could never do what they do. And also, you can't just take something away from somebody because you don't like them. And it happens in our sport. They don't like somebody, you get blackballed. In the real sports, you can't do that.
Absolutely.
Coach, you have like one of the most legendary rosters of fighters to ever walk the earth from your gym. And so I was just curious, like, sometimes you'll hear a rumor, oh, I knew the moment that he walked into the gym that he was going to be a superstar. Oh, or when he got to the gym, it took him a little while to really turn pro. How quickly does it generally take you to know if a fighter has it?
You want me to give you three scenarios where they're all different, but I do know. Okay, I give you the very first one. Cain Velasquez, when he first came to me. I'll give you four. I talk a lot, so I'll give you four. First one, Cain Velasquez. I get a call from the management saying, we got this great fighter. You're gonna love him. He's a heavyweight. He's got cardio for days, etc., etc., etc. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm kind of getting excited. And then they tell me he was a Latin Mexican fighter. And I went from heavyweight Mexican fighter from excitement to, okay, whatever. I'm just thinking, what this Mexican fighter is going to come in that looks in shape to me? I go, I don't think so. If he's a heavyweight, he's probably out of shape, a little heavier than he should be. So that's what I was thinking. So when Cain Velasquez came into my doors at the AKA Academy on Hillsdale Avenue, I was up in the ring watching the guy spar, and he goes to the door, and they go, hey, Jav, here's your fighter. And I looked at him. I said, I took a double take, right? I went like, what the hell? this guy looks very fit, very in shape, like not muscly, but in shape. I looked at him, I said, hey, I thought you'd be a little heavier. I was being sarcastic, but he didn't realize when I said I thought you'd be a little heavier, like fat-wise. He goes, oh, yeah, when I wrestle 265. So I'm going, oh, okay. So that's the first thing I noticed. He was very athletic. The second thing, when I knew he was going to be a champion, is when I had one of my champion kickboxers, they were doing some light sparring, and he kicked Kane in the head. And as soon as Kane got kicked in the head, he picked him up and he gently put him down. Like, gently put him down. I said, wow, that was a pretty quick reaction. And next thing you know, he gets kicked in the head again. This time around, he picked him up and slammed him. And I said, whoa, this is special. This is special. Right then and there, I said, this guy's going to be a world champion. Just from that alone, I knew that. So that's one scenario, right? You got another scenario, Luke Rockhold. Luke Rockhold was in Santa Cruz, California, right up from us, about 45 minutes or less. So he comes down with one of the jiu-jitsu guys to try out, you know, some sparring and whatnot. And he comes in and he wants to spar. And I look at him. I said, well, do you have headgear? Do you have this? He goes, yeah. I go, do you have a mouthpiece? He goes, mouthpiece? I go, man, you need to have a mouthpiece. I can't just spot without a mouthpiece. So I told him, go to Target. You can get a mouthpiece over there. And I didn't think I'd see him back, to be honest with you. I didn't think Luke would come back. And he comes back with the mouthpiece. I went, oh. Okay, so he put on the mouthpiece and he sparred one of my UFC guys, right? And this is a kid that had no experience. And he sparred with him, and I'm like going, whoa, okay, let's see what happens. So he did so well. I said, he's going to be a world champion just from that first sparring session. But Cain Velasquez never really sparred. He just lightly went with people, and I knew he was going to win. With Luke Rockhold, he sparred a high-level guy, and he did exceptionally well, and I knew he was going to be a world champion. Now, so you got the two scenarios, right? Now you got the third one, Daniel Cormier. Okay, when Daniel Cormier comes over, they're telling me, oh, you know, we got the two-time Olympian. You know, he's a pudgy guy, but he's the best guy out of all the guys at the Olympic Training Center that could do MMA. I said, great. And first time I met Daniel, I go, this guy's a fighter? Like, you know, he's like roly-poly a little bit like me, you know? I'm thinking, no, this guy can't be a fighter. And so what happened is, so he comes in the gym and he does this like light sparring, whatever. And I looked at him. I said, man, I told the coaches, I said, the people, the management, I said, look, I don't know if this guy could be a world champion or not, but I'll tell you what, I want him here. I don't care. He's a hell of a coach. This guy can coach. So I said, no way. I want this guy here. Whether he can fight, I could care less. So what ended up happening is I put him in doing this thing, and next you know, 2 weeks later, I'm working with the guy, and I'm showing him some stuff, and then he goes in the ring the next day, and he spars with what I showed him. He looked like he's been doing it for a long time. I went, holy crap. I said, no, this guy. So this guy was a late reaction type guy. Wasn't on first sight. You know, I was like, I have to wait. I work with him, and he did what I showed him, like he's been doing it for a long time. That's when I knew he was going to be a champion, you know. And, of course, with Khabib, if you want to talk about Khabib was already experienced when he came over to me. So for him, it was already destined that he was going to be a champion. But I'll give you the story about him so you guys get that one. When Khabib first came to me in 2012, it was through King Mo Lawal, which was one of my other fighters who's Muslim himself. He told me that there's one fighter wanted to come over, and that he wanted to be with us because of the wrestling. And I said, no problem with you, Mo. Anybody you want can come. So Khabib comes. He didn't understand any English whatsoever. And I looked at Khabib, and he destroyed everybody in my gym. Everybody he sparred destroyed. And I keep telling him, you know, relax. And, man, he kept going harder and harder. I'm going, damn, if this guy would just learn to listen, I think that he would do fantastic, you know? So I didn't think nothing of it because he goes back home after the fights. Well, he came back about the next camp, right? And he started speaking a little bit of English. And he goes, you know, coach, you know, in broken English, he goes, you know, when you say relax, I go, yeah. He goes, I thought you meant go harder. So then I knew about him, but I didn't know about right away. If I go, oh, this guy's gonna rule everybody then. So I started telling him about, hey, you're gonna be like Muhammad Ali. You know, there's a reason for you. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to tell you something about Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was one of the greatest fighters to me of all time, and not because of what he did inside the ring. It's what he did outside, the humanitarian things that he was doing and all these type of things. And I don't know what it is about you, but something about you tells me you're headed in that direction. You know, and he says to me, yes, coach, I know. My father tell me the same thing. So there actually gave me 4 examples. I talk too much, I know.
Thank you, coach.
No, that's amazing.
You, coach. We appreciate it.
We love it. What got you into the MMA world?
Originally, what got me into the MMA world, I was training kickboxers and pro boxers. I was planning on going into the fight world, in the boxing and the kickboxing world, and I was already making my way in there. And it just so happened that one of my first fighters that started this whole thing was Brian Johnston, was one of my earlier UFC guys, and he was training with this guy named Paul Polar Bear Farlands, who was he was from a school called Trap Fighting, and Brian Johnson was one of my Golden Gloves heavyweight, champions from the Northern California, intermediate, not advanced, not open, was intermediate. So, is anywhere they had any amount of fights, not over 12 fights, but Brian Johnson destroyed everybody there, and Brian wanted to know if maybe boxing was good for him or MMA, and I said, well, in boxing, you'll be like a Tommy Morrison because you're starting too late in boxing. And he got upset at me for saying Tommy Morrison. Goes, I don't want to be like that guy. He goes, well, you know anything in MMA? I go, well, yeah, I know Art Davies, who's the matchmaker for the UFC. I go, I can call him. So anyway, so I talked to Art Davies. He took Brian just based on my recommendation, not on skill set. Because back in the earlier days in the UFC, it was all about size and how they looked. It wasn't about ability, just some kind of credentials, but they didn't have to have full credentials.
Awesome.
Coach, quick question for you. Obviously your gym has this long history of incredible grapplers, but you're talking about that transition from kickboxing into MMA. How do you balance Khabib's a great grappler, let's not spend time focusing on the stand-up side of things, or is the focus you know what, we want to completely round out the game? How do you find that balance between a specialized fighter and then completing them as a well-rounded martial artist?
Well, the best way, and I've been having success with it, is I've been teaching it like you would teach somebody how to play chess. If you want to be a good chess player, you have to learn how to use your pawns correctly. You have to learn how to use your rook, your bishop, your knight, your queen, and your king. If you cannot use all those pieces properly, then when you meet a professional chess player, what's the chances of you beating him? They're not as good. They're not as good. So I've been using that mentality for years, and that's the one that gets everybody to understand what it's really all about. And I get good results as a result of pushing that. But I'm always pointing out to somebody, hey, look, I go, you're doing so great up here, but why is your rook and your knight been inactive? I go, that's a bad move. Because what if you got somebody who knows how to use those proper pieces properly? Then where are you at? I go, so that kind of analogy has really helped me with teaching and getting these guys to understand it and understand the game planning and the whole bit. It's really chess.
Sarah, do you mind if I do a follow-up real quick?
Please, go ahead.
Did you ever get pushback from your fighters on that, Coach? Do they ever say, Coach, I'm going to be able to take this guy down anytime I want. Why are we spending? Do you ever get pushback, or is there a general, mutual respect that, if Coach thinks we should round it out, we should round it out?
No, I do get pushbacks, but if I don't have an explanation for it, then that's bad on me. But every time I got a pushback, I always had a perfect answer to their question, to their pushback. So it always got taken care of. I always use examples of what they've done or what they haven't done in their pushback. So it's always worked for me because there was always something behind the back of my head. If they push back at me, I know what to say because I can use their own examples against them. And that's worked beautifully for me. Good question.
So there's just been a lot of greats, people throw names all around. In your opinion, who is on the Mount Rushmore of MMA?
Okay, my biased opinion. Let's go on my biased opinion. my biased opinion: Daniel Cormier, Khabib, GSP, and Anderson Silva. And my biased opinion. That's me biased. On the other one, the more people that are going to vote, there'd probably be Habib's definitely in there. GSP's definitely in there. Anderson Silva's definitely in there. And I guess you might have to go John Jones or DC on my unbiased.
Okay. Those are good answers.
Coach, MMA is constantly evolving, constantly changing. Every year there's a new technique or there's a new utilization of certain skill sets. So what do you think is something that has become popular but is now overrated?
What has become popular now overrated? That's a hard one because most of the things that have become popular, they're still effective. You know, they're just you know. Let's go on takedowns. Takedowns were very popular. Very, you know, it was something that you had to do to win the fight. This and that. Now, I wouldn't say they're overrated because they're still very important. They're probably number one most important thing to defend the takedown or be able to take someone down. That's still number one. So I wouldn't call it overrated, but I would say it's the one that people are understanding more about. You know what I mean? So you hit me with a hard question because okay, just for your question's sake, the front kick that Anderson Silva did with Vitor Belfort, and then a few other ones that Steven Seagal claimed that he was the one that taught the masterful kick that appeared to be just mystical. You know, only he can teach it. Let's say that one.
Awesome. So, in your opinion, greatest card in UFC history?
UFC 100.
Okay.
With Brock Lesnar was the main event. GSP, what was in that one? There was so many people in that one. It was a great one. UFC 100.
Awesome.
Coach, obviously we're a ways away from it happening in real time, but if MMA was to ever make the Olympics, whether the rule changes happened or whatever it might look like, if they were able to include pro fighters, obviously, you know, that's not happening yet, but if you did include pro fighters, is there a country you think that would dominate over time? Do you think it would level out after a while? How do you think that would look to see MMA in the Olympics down the road?
I believe you're going to see MMA in the Olympics, and it's going to happen sooner than later. And I think some of the countries that are going to dominate is the countries that are really immersed in it. You know, like over here, Russia with the Dagestan and Chechnya and all these other countries, Caucasus countries. You know, I see it with my own eyes. I'm presently here watching it, and I don't see how, if it comes in the Olympics, that you're not going to see a ton of champions coming out of Dagestan. You know, as it is now in the Olympics. If you look at the Olympics and the wrestling and all these sports, and other countries that are coming out, Uzbekistan, who's doing great in the boxing arena in the Olympics. You know, they have the first heavyweight, super heavyweight champion from Uzbekistan, which you're going to probably see him become the world champion in no time. And that's because they put in all the energy and the effort into bringing up the sports programs. And over here, you see it in Dagestan. That's crazy. Habib's gym has, when I went in there, about 60 pro fighters, and they're all very good. I mean, it's almost like, who do you pick out? Who's what? Who's this? Because they're all so good. So I would say that Russia is going to be one of the powerhouses. The USA, of course, is going to be a powerhouse. And then some of the other countries that you see powerhouses now in boxing and whatnot, they're the same countries that you're going to see winning the majority of the Olympic gold medals. So for sure, Russia, and for sure, the USA, and I would think China. China's making a big push, and also Japan. I think those are four big countries that will do really well in the Olympics and MMA.
If you had to pick one arena to fight in, what is your absolute favorite to have a fighter compete in?
If I had to pick one arena, I would have to say Las Vegas. I love Vegas. I love,
T-Mobile or MGM?
Either, I don't care. It could
Just
be anyone.
Vegas.
It could be anyone. I'm in Vegas. It don't matter because I'm having fun. So yeah, let's go
Awesome.
Vegas. The T-Mobile Arena, right? That's the one that lately we've been at. T-Mobile, yeah, Vegas T-Mobile.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Coach, obviously a big fight card coming up tomorrow. And so, you know, for people watching who maybe are newer-ish to MMA or they're not as familiar with the complexities of the sport, what's something we should keep an eye out for tomorrow that we could learn from in terms of like the fighters that are competing? I know you have a lot of respect for the Diaz brothers, but is there someone on the card that we should study or take a look at as they compete tomorrow?
The champ, the girl champ.
Valentina.
Valentina is smooth everywhere. You want to watch a perfect MMA fighter, watch Valentina. She's smooth. She's good everywhere. She is like a craftsman to me. A craftswoman, I guess you could say. She's unbelievable. Unbelievable inside, unbelievable outside. She works her craft beautifully. How smooth she is with everything she does. If I had to say watch anybody, watch her. Watch her. Be impressed by what she does and what she can do and how she is smooth at everything. Is so technical, and that's why she is, to me, probably could very well be the best woman fighter of all time.
Wow. It's amazing.